Mouse and Weens.
Yeah.
Welcome. Here we are. We are also on YouTube, so we're actually looking at each other, waiting for our esteemed guest to join us. Weens. Oh, first of all, I'm Mouse. I'm Joelle. I'm the mom one down in San Diego.
And I'm Weens up in LA, California. And we are here to just say hello. We love you guys. And also, we're always saying how much we love these guys.
We love you guys. We wouldn't be here if it wasn't for the listeners. So thank you guys.
Yeah. We're just hanging out also waiting for Steve Ferrone, our esteemed and wonderful guest. And he'll be popping on here pretty soon. And in the meantime, we're going to hang out. How you doing, Joe?
I'm good. Do you want to go over his bio real quick while we, maybe he doesn't want to be bored by his own bio because it's so long.
Let's do it, but let's do it to a drum beat. I want to insert a drum beat.
Oh my gosh.
So we'll do it to the dun, da, dun, dun,
all right,
da,
you have to keep the tempo then.
Da, dun, dun, da, dun, da, dun, dun, dun. Tom Petty. Okay, wait. What? Here we go. We're going to do his whole bio. Okay. He was in these bands, or he was a session musician in Tom Petty and the Heartbreakers, Duran Duran, Average White Band, Bee Gees, Paul Simon, Eric Clapton. He filled Phil Collins' spot. Shaka fuck. This is so hard.
He filled Phil Collins' spot. Shaka Khan, Bette Midler, Stevie Nicks, George Harrison, Whitney Houston, Alan Parsons, Johnny Cash, Aretha Franklin. Take it.
Dire Straits, Scritti Politti, Rick James, Al Jarreau, Peter Frampton, a Cyndi Lauper, Anita Baker, Brian Ferry, Tracy Chapman, SNL House Band beginning in '85.
Pat Metheny, Steve Winwood, Paul Simon, Michael Jackson, Aerosmith, Slash, and Pooh, which is an Italian band. I had to look that one up. Hello.
How are you?
Nipsey, you know, people refer to this medium as the Hollywood Squares sometimes. So I was at a meeting once and some guy had a Paul Lind up there, so I decided to be Nipsey Russell.
Yeah, I love it.
Ew, reminds me of the old days. Yay, how are you, honey?
I'm good. I'm just sorry I'm late.
Don't worry.
No worries.
I get confused. Time is kind of eludes me in this COVID period here. And I was in the middle of writing out my new radio show.
Oh yeah.
How's that going?
It's going great.
Yeah.
Yes, this is the new guy on Tom Petty Radio.
That's right. I am the new guy. I was the new guy for 28 years now, and I'm still the new guy. They still don't take any notice of anything I say, and besides being a drummer.
Yeah, the fans still call you the new guy. I love it.
The new guy, yeah.
And now you have some new news. I was looking up different news things about you, and I found out that you are newly engaged.
That's correct.
Congratulations.
That is correct. My bride to be is outside there in the living room. Watching Hallmark movies.
Yes. She can hang out with me. I love them.
Yeah, you too? I mean,
she loves them.
It's brain candy. It's in a world when we need some happiness. You can always count on the same happy story.
She said, there's a great one. There's an interracial one on this weekend. We have to record it. And I'm like, oh, yes, I can't wait.
Yes, because she is a lovely blonde lady. And you are...
No, she's not blonde anymore.
Oh, okay.
She dyed her hair blonde.
Oh, got it. Okay.
She's actually brunette like yourself. And then she dyed her hair blonde, and then she wanted to go back, and then it does that funny thing where it's sort of like you have like sort of dark hair up here, and then and she's in her. I'm not going to say her exact age. She's in her 50s.
Yes.
I'm not that stupid.
You're a smart man. He's going to watch the Hallmark movies, and he's not going to say her age. You're going to stay married the rest of your life.
She's in her 50s, so she's got some grey in there, and I think grey's kind of attractive. I mean, I got plenty of it myself now, so
yeah.
So,
our mom just went gray.
Yeah, we were just talking about it before you got on that she's
I've noticed lately that a lot of women have just been saying the hell with it, because I mean, my own personal experience with that was that I mean, when I started to go gray when I was about probably I was in my 20s, I think maybe 27, 28. I had this little strip of gray when I had hair. I had this little strip of gray right here. And then it just went all over. So I decided, okay, let me do this, like, Grecian formula, and then dyeing it and all that stuff, and then and it's so much work.
Yeah. How long did you keep that up? Because that's hard.
Not very long. I mean, I just what I did was, I took my son. He was little, and I took him to the barbers, and I said to the barber, I said, "Can you shave his head?" Because we had the same. We kind of looked. I thought, well, I'll have a look, see how he does with a bald head.
Yeah.
Before it was pretty good, because we kind of look alike.
So the note to use your kids for experiments. That's
right.
Well, yeah. I mean, of course, whenever anybody gets, I mean, this is face it. Whenever people get older, they change, right? So I was sitting in the middle of Wembley Stadium. I was playing with Eric Clapton in Wembley Stadium. 100,000 people, and we're doing something. I don't know. They were playing this concert, and they had screens out. They didn't have just screens by the side of the stage. They had screens out, and you could see. I don't know how it was projected, but you could see what was on the screens, that were further out. I'm sitting up there and I'm playing, and I see this head, the back of a head, and there's a big bald patch right on the back of the head. And I thought, I wonder who that is. Yeah, they got somebody there, didn't they? And I moved my head, and then I saw the head move, and I thought, and it was, and I turned around, and there was a guy with the camera like behind me, like,
oh no,
can't you find somewhere else? Can you find somewhere else to go?
There are a lot of angles. Yeah.
How distracting.
So it looked like the Friar Tuck, Mad Monk sort of bald. And I didn't really notice it because you can't see the back of your own head.
Yeah.
So
I've heard that from a lot of guys. They don't notice for a long time.
No, you don't know. You don't notice it, right?
You need a nice little yarmulke to put on, and
exactly. So then,
you'd have to convert, but
it could be a bit difficult if I'm uncircumcised.
You heard it here first.
We heard it here first.
Exclusive.
So I took my son. And I had his head shaved so I could see what it would look like, and it looked pretty good. So I said, okay, you could do mine too. So they did mine, and then we went home, and we knocked the door. My then wife came, and she opened the door, and she took one look at us both standing there bald. She burst into tears.
Oh no! Oh,
what have you done?
And then we got divorced.
Yes.
Oh no!
Oh my gosh! Now, how long were you married, and how many kids do you have? I've heard you talk about your family.
Well, I was married. Every time I was married four times, and every time, once was like a year, and every time after that was around 3 years. And I think my might have gone to almost 4 years.
Yeah.
And I had 2 children with my third wife, and then there was then it came to light 9 years after that there was a child that was in between those 2 children.
Oh.
That was from a dalliance. Let's just say dalliance.
Yes.
And then that came with the lawsuit, of course, and then I continued to keep digging, and just it was funny because I can say this. I'm talking to 2 women here who probably have an opinion about that kind of behavior, but my concept at the time was that I didn't get them pregnant; they got pregnant.
Mm-hmm.
And that was something, that was the thought pattern that I had to change. Because. It was, I guess it's kind of what you grow up with. I grew up in the 50s, and there was a lot of different thinking that was in there. It's been quite interesting. But what it did stop me doing was it stopped me drinking.
There you go.
You have changed, a lot of things in your life.
When
good.
Was that?
Yeah.
What year did you stop?
In 1993. I've been sober now for 27 years.
Congratulations. That's amazing.
Yeah. And it's funny because you hear people, you hear a lot of people say that and everything about, just stop drinking. And for some of us, it's harder than others, and we have to get help. And I went and got help, and I continue to get help today. and I'm really grateful for all the guys that kind of helped me grow up.
Sure.
Yeah.
Do you think that I've heard that when you stop drinking, that's where you stop your emotional growth? And then you kind of, so if you started at 15 years old, you're kind of starting there. Do you believe that?
Yeah, exactly. It's I don't know. I would say yes. I would say that that's true. For some people, it's funny because like some people, they go out and they have a drink or two, and it's what I don't understand is people saying, oh, they drink like a half a glass. Now I'm starting to feel it. No, I'm okay. I don't want any more. It's like starting to feel it. That was like the beginning for me.
Right. Go time.
I wanted to feel more of that.
Yeah. Cut to a week later and come to. Yeah.
Well, it must have been so hard. You're in the music business with all these 70s, 60s rockers, and that's the scene. Well, that's what you do.
Well, fortunately, yes. I mean, when I first started playing, it was like you didn't trust anybody. You didn't party. It was you couldn't. People didn't hire people who partied.
And you went through the 80s with all the cocaine. You went through.
Oh, yes.
And then you could just drink all night. Yeah, that's crazy.
That was the advantage to cocaine. It wasn't the cocaine that was attractive. It was that it allowed me to drink more. I mean, once I started to feel a bit sleepy and a bit sloppy, you line of cocaine would just buck you right up, and you could just keep drinking. I'm probably doing something. So there's probably somebody out there thinking like, oh, I should try that. But here's the good news.
No, don't do it.
here's the good news. If you do try it, you're going to come crashing down a lot faster.
Yeah.
So
yes. But take it from the wise.
Yeah, I mean, for me, for what I found out about it, and from a lot of guys that have had the same problem, is that it's not the booze that's the problem. It's my thinking. And the thinking that sort of runs through a lot of different things. Change doesn't just come with like a flip and a switch. It takes time. It takes time to get used to it. I mean, I remember when all of a sudden guys started to show up and say like, my husband, and that was like, not that I thought one way or another about it, but it would just seemed odd to me for a guy to say my husband, or for a woman to say my wife.
Right. I see.
It just seemed odd to me, and I have a friend who's gay, who got married, and then he would say, and I told him that it seems weird for me to hear that when I first when I hear it, so he just kept saying it until I got used to it.
Exactly.
And that wasn't going to change, but I had to get used to it. But it sometimes I mean, I didn't have any thoughts that he shouldn't get married, or didn't have any thoughts like that. But it was odd to hear that. It wasn't something that I'd heard in all my life. It was something that a man turned around and said, my husband.
Sure.
It was like, you mean your wife? It was all strange to me. So things take a little bit of time to get used to. So
you're relating that to being sober and having to get used to a whole different mindset.
It's having to get used to it, and having to get used to sometimes you can't trust your thinking, and sometimes you need to talk to somebody before you take an action. As things get better as the longer you stay sober.
Yeah.
And you make
and then you can start cleaning up some messes.
Well, yeah, I mean that's part of it. Is that, go back and clean up the old stuff, and I mean, it takes time. Like I say, it takes time for other people too. People have been patient with me. I have to be patient with other people. My children, one of my children, my youngest son, Alex, and at one point he really had a problem with me, and I had to understand why he had a problem with me. But I mean, there was some stuff that went on between us that was it was difficult. He felt that sort of like abandoned and left out about stuff, and there was a point when I would send him like Christmas cards and birthday cards, and they would come back to me with his handwriting, not at this address, and I had to be patient and wait, and when he did reach out, not mention it, that was the hard thing, was sort of not say, well, you know, you did this, you know, I had to just let it go. And now every time we have a conversation, we finish it with "I love you, son," and "I love you, Dad."
That's great. Good for you.
That's the you know, that's the desired effect that I think that we both wanted. You know?
Yeah.
And you don't get that by holding on to a resentment or not trying to understand the other person's point of view.
And giving it time.
You know, being said, you know, this country could probably use some of that at the moment.
Yes.
I think we all could use a little bit of understanding about. I mean, yeah, it's funny. There was a time when I didn't even, me and my friends, we never even discussed politics. Never came into it, anything. You know, everybody went and voted and did what they voted, whatever they wanted to vote.
Mm-hmm.
But now we all seem to be full of self-importance with that stuff. It's like we gotta, you know, it'd be, you know, the way that this, for me, the way that this, the positive effect of this virus is it's going to force people to cooperate with each other, and I don't think it's going to go away until we do. I really don't think until we start thinking of each other. You know, I was a friend of mine was saying the other day, well, you know, it's so different in different parts of the country. California's got it bad, and then, you know, somewhere in, you know, Idaho or so it's not so bad and everything. And so, until we realize that we all have it, no matter where it is, and we all do something about it. Right. You know, World War II went on for 5 years, and in England, when they said turn the lights off at night, it was everybody turned the lights off, even if you lived in the country. You know, you couldn't leave your light and say, well, they're going to go bomb the city. They're not going to bomb me out here in the middle of the country. You have to turn the lights off. So we have to cooperate with each other and help each other when we come through this thing.
Yeah.
That's interesting in such a time that we're so polarized. Yeah, politically, along with coronavirus, and how we're so.
Yeah. Right. Now, when were you born in England? Oh, I'm sorry. Do you
go ahead?
I was born in 1950.
You were 50. Okay. So
I'm
the
70 years old. I'm going to be 71. Jesus. I don't look it the way.
You look great.
You're a very handsome man. Yeah, you were born.
My Peloton bike is there.
Oh, good. See?
I love it.
I know. These
you
are
are very handsome, Steve, and you have gorgeous teeth.
Thank you.
Do you do it? You always have. I look back at some older photos of you, and you didn't do anything to him, huh?
Yeah, I have a fantastic dentist.
Robert
Weber lives he works right up the street.
Nice.
He's such a fantastic dentist. He gives me shirts. I walk in there and he'll have these new set of shirts, you know, new set of scrubs that he wears, and I say, that's a nice shirt. I'd like a shirt like that. And he said, oh, hold on a second. And he run in his office and he give me a shirt.
I love it.
Nice.
I have a little collection of dentist shirts.
That's awesome.
Every once in a while, I'll wear it up to the office and walk in there and say, is there anybody that I can drill?
Well, yeah, you are the poster child for a good dental patient. I'm sure you love that you're wearing it. That's great. So
what's your shirt like? Okay, Joe, go ahead.
Oh, no.
Ask this question.
I just love all these older stories of coming up in England and music and stuff, but we can talk about current day too. I love hearing about all of the legends that you've played with, and then you yourself and how you got into the scene. We kind of introed you. We talked about it a little bit, but the 50s in England. I mean,
that was weird.
What was going on? Yeah.
What was happening? Yeah, that was boom music.
Well, I mean, in retrospect, I can see the strangeness of everything that happened in my life. Was that I was the only black kid for miles and miles around. My father was an African dancer that passed through town and met my mum, and they had a dalliance, and it resulted in me, which, you know, back in 1950 was a huge, massive scandal. Nowadays, who cares? Nobody thinks about that. But in 1950, it was bad enough if you were pregnant, got pregnant and weren't married, you know, let alone be pregnant and with a black man and not be married. That was a whole different thing. So
did they stay together, or did he travel through?
No, my father actually came back to see me when I was 9 years old. You know, and that was the only time that I met him. I mean, I've been looking for him ever since, but I'm probably a bit too late for that now. And every time I go to try to find him, something comes up, you know, because he was from Sierra Leone, and I actually got a lead on somebody that knew him and travelled with him. and I had my bags packed ready to go to Sierra Leone to see if there was any, you know, or any brothers or sisters, or find out where he was buried or whatever, you know. And the Civil War broke out, and they pulled out all it was some United Nations organization that was looking for me, and they pulled all the United Nations people out of Sierra Leone when the Civil War started. It was an extensive civil war. And then the next time I went to go back there, Ebola broke out.
Oh my gosh.
So
you were not meant to find him.
No. And, you know, that's the other thing. It's funny. It's like, you know, I'm sitting there thinking, you know, oh my God, you know, there's, you know, this civil war and the people are getting their arms cut off. They were cutting off people's arms like from here.
It was awful.
They cut off both hands with a machete and everything. I'm like, what? It's happening to my family. Then I started to think, well, wait a minute, what is my family that's doing it?
That's true.
Yeah.
On the bad side.
You never know.
It's
you
true.
never know.
I know, you dig too deep. I did a lot of family genealogy and thought, you know, all this neat stuff about the Civil War, and I look back and go, we were on the wrong side of history. We were fighting for the South, which is very embarrassing as a very liberal Californian. But yeah,
you know,
So did you come up against any racial stuff in England in the 50s, or were people pretty accepting?
Well, you know, in general, you know, racism is something that's learned. So, you know, it never came up with my friends, you know.
Right.
But I remember the first time that it happened, I was probably maybe, you know, 7 or 8 years old, playing out in the there was an alleyway at the back of my house, and it was actually a driveway to a much nicer group of houses in front of my house. Mine was the sort of middle working class sort of people. And then there was a nice area, and there was a cottage that was kind of attached to it. It was at the end of this alleyway, very nice little cottage. And there was like trees up there, and we'd play cowboys and Indians, and we'd go up and shout, you know, cowboys and wars, play war. We had an armory. I had an armory of guns, and my friends would come over there, and you're not taking your shots and doing all this stuff, playing cowboys and stuff.
Love it. Yeah.
And we were up there playing, and this guy, who was he was a Harley Street surgeon, retired, came out of his bungalow, his very nice cottage, and pulled out a sword. He had a walking stick, and he pulled it out. It was a sword stick. And he said, "Get out of here, you rotten kids. Get out of making all that noise. Get away from me." And he looked at me and he said, "And you black bastard, get out of here." And I didn't even understand what he was saying. I didn't know what that was, you know. But it was, they talk about the power of words. We've heard a lot of talk about that lately. It hurt deeply, and I didn't know what he even meant by it, but the anger and the fury that came out of this guy, he might as well just kick me in the head, you know. So I ran home, and I told my grandmother was there, and she said, "You know, what's the matter?" And I said, "The man up the street, he called me a black bastard," you know. And my grandmother said, "Right, you know, that thing that girls do, that, you know, when they turn around to their husbands, defend my honor." She went and did that to my grandfather. He's like, "Do you know what the guy up the street called young Stephen?" You know, and my grandfather said, "Right," rolled up his sleeves.
Nice.
That was the way they used to settle things back then.
So he did. He gave him a little what for? Wow.
Took him by his shirt, jacked him up by his shirt, told him if he ever talked to me like that again, he was gonna finish the job.
That's awesome. Go, Grandpa! I love this guy.
Good.
So, but you know, my mother had a lot of wisdom. She worked in a factory, but she seemed to have I don't know whether it was just because of her own experiences about people talking and saying stuff, and because, you know, the tongues were wagging, but you know, she just sort of went to it. She told me that the way to combat that stuff was when if anybody said anything, was to feel sorry for them, was to feel pity for them.
Mm-hmm.
And that's kind of the way I've carried myself through my life. It's like, you know,
right.
Is that all you got?
Wise.
Is that all you got?
Good for you.
Do you think that connected you to music, because there's so many different musicians that you can connect with, and
I would think there's not as much racial tension in music at all, right?
No, I mean, well, you know, the first band that I worked with, I was 12 and I was working with these kids that were like 18 years old, 17, 18 years old, like kids that would normally beat up on a 12-year-old. I mean, that was kind of what happened in my town, was that the older kids, I guess it would be like, you know, when you get into high school, the freshmen get it from the guys who are just go getting ready to go to college.
Where was this? What was the name of your town again?
Brighton.
This is Brighton. Okay.
Yeah.
When I met you at Julianne's birthday party, and you told me that starting to play drums kept you off the streets. So it sounds like they were pretty tough streets. Yeah.
Well, yeah. I mean, yeah. It was. Yeah. I mean, we had. You know, the mods and the rockers, what they called the mods and the rockers in the 60s, which was two rival factions which used to battle on my beach on Brighton Beach, and the rockers used to listen to rock and roll, like old style rock and roll, skiffle music and stuff like that, and the mods used to listen to Motown and the Who, you know, and the rockers would ride motorcycles and wear leather jackets, like Hell's Angels kind of guys, and the mods would wear long draped jackets and Levi jeans and white t-shirts and suspenders and braces.
Were they the Vespa drivers?
And ride scooters.
Yeah, scooters.
Lambretta and Vespas. So there was two different kinds of.
So what side were you on?
Well, I started off by going down to the beach. I thought, well, you know, the rockers are like mean with the motorcycles and everything. I think I just put on a leather jacket and sit down there, down to the beach, and I should be okay with the rockers. And I got down there and there was like a million mods. So I went home and I got changed.
Next time you got to wear two jackets, just like take it off.
Went home, got changed, put on my Levi's and my desert boots, and went down to the beach and became a mod. But I used to play, you know, the Who used to come down and play at this club, this little club in the aquarium called the Flamingo, which is also known as Uncle Bonnie's Chinese Jazz Club, and we used to play. We used to open for the Who down there, but it was a blues band. So that I had, you know, we called ourselves the Flames, and then we changed our names to the Web. WEB. We should have kept that, you know.
Yeah.
Sort of, the interweb.
So these blues tours used to come through from the United States. And it was all the Chicago guys, Muddy Waters, Sonny Terry, Brownie McGee, Bill Doggett, John Lee Hooker. All these guys used to come through, and they just do like a show. They come out and play like 3 songs each, and this band used to take me to see that. I mean, I remember going to see it and loving the music, but I wish I'd have paid more attention to it, you know.
Sure. Right. You know, I just heard something interesting about that Chicago time, and a lot of people pulled they were talking about drums being pulled from the sound of the railways from going from Chicago north, and that's how it originally
set up a rhythm. Probably. Yeah.
Which is
the shuffle.
The shuffle, Purdie shuffle, right? Yeah. Pretty Purdie. Yeah. Did you get into him?
Well, he's a of course.
Oh yeah.
It was the first time I'd ever heard. Purdie was the first drummer that I ever heard play so syncopated. It was usually it was like the beat was boom, that goo goo, that goo goo.
Sure.
The Rolling Stones was the same.
What do you call that? 4 on the floor? What is that?
No, it's just sort of a straight beat, you know. It's a really sort of straight beat. But Purdie had this way of breaking it up, you know. And it was like, whoa, what is that? You know, it was a song called "What Is Soul" by Benny King. It was the first time I heard anybody play like that. It's like, that's a different way of going about it, you know? And I wanted to learn that. Purdie's a great friend and an enormous influence, an amazing person.
Amazing guy. Oh my God. And that syncopation, there was one of the top 100 drummers was the guy 50 Ways to Leave Your Lover, and they were calling him Gadd. The king of
Steve Gadd, yeah.
Steve Gadd. So they're calling him the king of syncopation, but really,
Purdie
it would be Purdie.
Purdie was before him, yeah.
Which a lot of these rockers pulled from the old blues guys and the old Chicago guys, right?
Well, yeah, I mean,
Led Zeppelin.
Yeah, oh, jeez. I mean, that was
like ripped it.
You know what's funny is that I was listening the other day to that song Nobody's Fault But Mine, the Zeppelin version of it, and I was listening to I was listening to their original recording, and then the live recording that they did with Jason Bonham when they did their last concert in London. I was at that concert, and that it's just the quality of the sound between those two things, the guitar sound especially, is really amazing. I mean, both great performances were different, you know.
That's so cool.
And then I realized that it was written by some old blues guy.
Yep. So, I heard that they
never listened to that. And that was a whole different thing. Well, they did a great job of basically it was an arrangement. They didn't write it.
They didn't do a good job at giving credit though. That was their problem.
No. I think that was more their managers.
Really?
Thing, yeah.
Now, okay, so I heard something interesting about John Bonham, who's like, you know, top drummer in the world, John Bonham, but he was saying that, or people who analyzed him said that he would go off of Jimmy Page's guitar. He would follow the guitarist as the lead, where a lot of drummers follow bassist, or they sync up with bassist, but
nobody follows. No, drummers don't follow anybody.
Really?
Drummers listen to everybody. The good drummers listen to everybody. Jason Bonham was an excellent listener. If you hear the way that he plays, he doesn't get in the way of everything. He plays very wide. He leaves everybody else a lot of space to play.
That's what I've heard. So in a lot of your interviews, Joelle and I listened to a lot and read a lot on you, and it seems like you follow that same philosophy.
Yeah, you know, I think drummers that listen to drums aren't listening to the song, and drummers that play for the song are usually the better drummers. You know, I mean, Ringo Starr, Charlie Watts, you know, and somebody like Purdie is a slightly different way of doing it, more syncopated way of doing it, but you know, great players. Gadd, Steve Gadd, same thing. You know, Steve Jordan, Jim Keltner. I mean, there's lots of really great guys, great players.
Now, did you ever get intimidated by people, or were you just there to learn and absorb and be a peer?
Just there to play the drums.
That's awesome. Yeah.
Was it intimidating following in the footsteps of other drummers that had left bands, or no, never? Good. No. Yeah.
Look, it's funny. I had a friend of mine who's a teacher he's a principal in a school in New York, and he called me up and he had to do a presentation. He's trying to bring mindfulness into the school city system, and he had to go and speak in front of a lot of people. And he was very nervous about doing it. And he called me up because he knows that I'm used to being in front of a lot of people. So I said to him, I said, well, you know your stuff, right? And he said, well, yeah. I said, if anybody in that audience knew more than you do, they'd be on the stage talking and you'd be out there listening to them.
Right.
So just go do your thing.
That's great.
And then he called me back afterwards. He said, "Went great." You'll be doing a TED talk before you know it.
Yeah. So that beats out the idea of imagining everybody in their underwear, which that doesn't seem to work. Yeah. I've tried that. Yeah.
You don't want to see me sitting in the audience and imagine me in my underwear.
We love it. We've been doing that before you got on. We were talking about.
I think that, you know, I like I say, I think there's a degree of humility that needs to be had, but hey, okay, there's kind of two things that hit together. First, you have to have a big ego to just say, I'm going to go out here in front of all these people, man, and just do my thing. And I remember when I was at school, I used to get nervous about it. And then after I did it, like a show or two, it was like, why am I nervous? You know, if they could play, they'd be out here, and I'd be watching them. You know?
And then
and it, you know, it's not really, you're not really in a competition. You're just expressing your art. You know, so it's not there's no one thing that's better than another.
How do you do? Has any? Because I hear about, you know, I was dating a musician. We were together for 10 years. It was more than dating. We were, you know, he was an Oingo Boingo.
You're not the first girl I heard say that. Okay, first of all, what did he play?
He played guitar.
Oh shit.
I know. No. Sorry.
What's wrong with guitarists? What's the stereotype?
Do you know what guitarists use for birth control?
What?
Oh, God.
Their personalities.
Oh no.
Okay, here's what I heard about. This is tell me if the drummer thing. Okay, what do you call a drummer without a girlfriend?
Homeless.
Yeah. Is that true?
No. Okay, so do you know what they always say, you know, what do you call a guy that runs around with musicians? It's a drummer, right? Do you know why musicians keep drummers around? Because they have to have somebody who can remember what to play after they've counted up to 4.
Oh. It's true. You really are.
And if you don't get that, the drummer usually counts off the band, goes 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4. Boom, you start playing, right?
Right, yeah. Exactly.
Guitarists to go like 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4. Hold on a minute. What key was that?
What are we doing?
I know. Well, Warren was a special dude with his ability to compose and things like that. So I think he had a little level above on other guitarists, maybe. But
yeah, he's a
what were you gonna say though?
What? With what?
With you living with him, and you started off on a path.
Oh no, I don't want to go down that road. He's a great guy, wonderful person. No, I was just I was gonna say that it must be hard, just the amount of time he was gone. I mean, I could see why there are so many divorces and so many. It's just hard when your person is home for. I remember one time, I think he was home for only 2 months out of the year, and it really was a strain on the relationship. You just go, am I with someone? Rough. Am I not? Am I? You know.
That is rough.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. So I'm sure that's part of experience, right?
You know, but I think the other side to think about it is, I mean, I was when I started playing with Duran Duran, I had a year with them and Eric Clapton, and I spent a total of 3 weeks at my house, and I missed my house as much as it missed me. You know?
Oh my! And I remember this because you were holding a seat at SNL. They were holding a space for you. You were playing with the band there.
Yes.
At the same time.
Yeah.
But you finally gave it up to go with Duran Duran. Is that what happened?
No, I got. I mean, that was a really, really, really busy year, and it was probably my biggest year I ever had as far as financially. But it was you know, it was really rough, and I kind of had to make a decision on what I was gonna do to get some time at home, and I decided to play with Eric Clapton.
Wow.
That was to make that the focus of my work.
Do you have any one favorite artist that you played with? One favorite band? I mean, it's hard to. And
then I have to ask you about Duran Duran, because of course I was in love with John Taylor, like every other girl in the universe, right?
You were one of those girls?
I was. Yeah. I was a kid.
I told a story the other day about playing a concert.
Oh.
And I'm going to use some very bad language because it wasn't me that used it in the first place.
Okay, we can cuss here.
I looked out in the audience, and there was a girl in the audience, and she had an enormous piece of cardboard, right? And she was holding it up, and it said in big letters, "Fuck me, John." and I looked at that, and I thought, how did she get that out of the house? I mean, you know, can you imagine?
Was she young?
Yes, I mean, they're all young.
Imagine your daughter. Bye, Dad.
Yeah. That's what I was thinking. You know, the old man sitting there watching the TV, and she comes down, walks past the door with this big piece of cardboard underneath her arm. Like, bye, Dad. I'm off to the Duran Duran. Goes, all right, darling. Have a nice day. What's that? What's that under your arm?
Oh my God. Hopefully she made it in the parking lot.
Yeah.
Oh
no,
gosh.
that's
well, you
awful.
weren't that bad, Weens. You just like what you like.
No, I was crushy. I was young, but I would imagine being with Duran Duran. And then I'm sorry, Joe, I usurped your question, but being with Duran Duran must have been. Were they at the height of the party scene then? They were.
No, I mean, I think it had calmed down a little bit for them then. They sort of decided they'd matured a little bit by then. I mean, I guess that you know when they first sort of came out of college, they graduated college. They were in art college and stuff. Art college kids in Birmingham who put together a band who suddenly became the biggest band in the world. I mean, basically straight out of high school. What we call
the Hungry Like a Wolf days, and
and then they just became the biggest band in the world, and it's girls screaming just as much as they did for the Beatles after them. So I guess it was kind of crazy for them too. At one point, by the time I got to them, I mean, I was like 35, and I guess that they were like in the mid to late 20s when I started playing.
So you guys have all calmed down a little by then. You've all been out.
Well, I think that they go. I think that because when you hear people talking, I mean, I hear people talking about the rock and roll lifestyle. Well, the rock and roll lifestyle is the first thing you have to do is make music. Yeah. And so it's after that what is perceived as the rock and roll lifestyle happens, and there's some people that one hit wonders that come along and just bullshit their way through one song or something, and that's about it. But Duran Duran is a valid trademark.
Great songwriters,
yeah, and they're good songwriters. They're not just lucky. I mean, they've written a lot of really good songs, and the performances of those songs on record and live are very good too.
Yeah.
So they've taken their brand and gone from just being like some teeny bopper sort of maybe one album, maybe a couple of songs off of one album that everybody loves, into being something that's meaningful. I mean,
so you've worked with these guys that have longevity, though. The majority of the people you work with.
Yeah, I mean, I had worked with Duran Duran for years when I started to work with George Harrison, and it was my first day in London working with George Harrison. I rented a car because we were going to rehearse out in Bray, out in Windsor, which is out of town, out of London, past London Airport, and I was staying in London, of course, and I was taking a drive. I got there and took a drive down the King's Road, and as I'm driving down the King's Road, I see this guy walking on the street, and I look at this guy and I say, "Wow, it kind of looks like Warren Cucurullo, except he was sort of this is like a muscle-bound guy, like a bodybuilder sort of physique." And when I'd seen Warren maybe 2 or 3 years before, he was a skinny guitarist guy, right? And then he turned around and it was Warren. He'd just been he'd taken up bodybuilding and he'd become this little muscle-bound guy. Well, hey Warren, and I'm in the car. I've got the window down. Hey Warren, how you doing? Oh, he says, "You're in town." I said, "Yeah, it's great. He said, "I got a song I want you to play on." I said, okay. And he took a cassette out of his bag and he threw it in through my car window. And he said, "Can you?" I said, "Well, I don't know when I can do it. I'm just here. I've got to rehearse with George Harrison." He said, "When you can, just let me know when you can do it. We do it." And so I kept driving and put in this cassette, and it was a demo. It was the track that they done of Ordinary World.
Oh wow, Duran Duran.
Yeah, and that was a massive hit for them. It
Huge.
was a massive hit song. And actually, when I got back to my hotel, I called up Warren and I said, "You don't need me to play on this song. You could release this. This is a hit song." And he said, "Oh no, we want you to play on it." And so I figured out that George worked very much like Tom Petty. It's like you start around 11 o'clock in the morning, you're done by 5 or 6 o'clock at night.
Nice man.
Yeah, I mean, don't want to rehearse things too much, and you had great players, so things got played really well. Anyways, It was just like a couple of minor adjustments. You didn't have to go over and over and over stuff.
Right.
And so I went and did an evening session. I finished work and I went over to Warren's to the studio where they were recording and sat down and played with Duran Duran.
This is a good life. You're recording with one of the Beatles, and then you're walking over and doing a major hit song with Duran Duran. I mean, that's
and if you hadn't driven along that day, you may not have been on that song, right?
True. Yeah. Right place, right time.
Wild.
Yeah.
That's amazing. So how was it? Because Beatles was one of your you were a big fan growing up.
Absolutely.
And then suddenly you're working with George Harrison. Was that mind blowing, or at that point was it like...
You know what was really a lot of fun with that was that we were at rehearsal one day and there was myself and Ray Cooper. Ray Cooper played percussion and he had a drum kit. There's some songs that you sit down and thrash away the drums. And we were at rehearsal and I looked out and I see Ringo walking and standing in the middle of the rehearsal. There's nobody else there, it's just Ringo standing there. And as we were playing, I'd see Ringo and I catch his eye and I go, yeah. So he came up on the stage and he got behind Ray's drum kit. And it's strange because it's kind of like the Heartbreakers. You put any two of us together and there's this magic that sort of happens. And I got to sit there and play, and George and Ringo started to play together, and it's kind of like I could feel it. I could feel the beats. You know? It's a really special thing that happens when musicians that have played and done so much music together play together. There's a connection. There's a connection in bands like that happens.
When was the last time you were together with all of the Heartbreakers? And I know
all of them.
Yeah,
all of them was in 2017 at the Hollywood Bowl. I've been with each and every one of them separately, and once I was with Mike and Ben, we did went and played at a benefit. I think we played with Stephen Stills, and we went and did something. But that was the last time that the whole band was together playing. Because Ron had the birthday party, and not everybody was at that either. So.
I went to a Tom Petty fan group and collected some questions from them. So that was one from, Henry Hank Martin Jr. He wondered what the band members are into these days, and what are you into these days? They were curious.
Well, yeah, I mean, everybody's, Mike is in these dirty knobs and been working with these dirty knobs, and I think he's been doing some songwriting with Chris Stapleton. Ben Mont has been doing sessions here and there. I'm not really sure who with, but I know he's been working here and there sessions, and working on another Ben Mont Tench album. Ron Blair has been working on writing some songs and producing some. So he produced a couple of tracks with Hattie Webb, with the Webb sisters who were out with us, and Hattie did some recording, and he's been he's been singing quite a bit himself, Ron. So I think he's working on maybe releasing an album at some point.
Nice.
Scott is the only guy I know. He's been into like doing more construction stuff at his house, and he has a rental property that he takes care of, and he's been more into doing that than playing music. I think he really misses Tom so much. I don't know if he really wants to do anything. So, it's affected everybody a little bit differently. As far as what they've done, and me, I'm sort of back doing. I have my studio here at my house. I work out of that. People still call me up and ask me to go and do sessions, and I do my radio show. And this year has been mainly radio show and stuff in studio stuff in here. I did one drum clinic that went out on a website. A week or so ago, everybody got tested and social distancing.
Cool.
And I went down to San Diego and did that, and that was a lot. It made me realize just how much I miss playing with my friends, and I think next Saturday I'm going to do a podcast with David Garfield, same thing at his house, social distancing.
Nice.
So I really look forward to that, to the playing playing with other people. That's really fun.
Yeah,
miss it.
I listened to your last show on Sirius XM, and you played a song that you covered of Tom Petty's with your Steve Ferrone and friends.
That's right.
And mentioned grief and how it affects people differently, and that it really affected you with that. It was a beautiful song.
Oh, sorry, that was Angel Dream. Angel Dream.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you know, it was that we sat down and it was they asked me to, because the way that band works is that I send them songs, they rehearse it. I show up and we do one rehearsal, and then we go and play, and they'll send me like a recording of what they did at rehearsal, and I can make minor adjustments and just like, can that guy take a solo instead of make it a guitar solo.
Because they're all still over in England, so
they're in France.
France.
They're in France, yeah. And it's kind of interesting because the singer has a French accent, so every once in a while it's a French. Yeah, we did on the same record. There's a cover of Joe, the song, Tom Petty song that I recorded, and he just didn't understand. You know, it was the song about, my name's Joe, I'm the CEO, I'm the man who makes the big wheels turn, or something like that. All my lyrics going on. Oh, bring me a girl, they're always the best. You put them on stage and you have them undressed. Some angel whore who can learn a guitar lick. Hey, now that's what I call music, and it's from it's a perspective of a record executive who's a complete asshole.
Mm-hmm.
Right. Wow.
Explaining that, and that probably didn't translate.
Right. And with the French, the French and their words, it just didn't compute. So I had to say no. Okay, this is it. You're an asshole.
Yeah. You have a word for that?
What do you call me? Yeah.
Now you speak French and Italian, right?
You're Italian,
yeah, because you've lived in both places. And
yeah.
That's awesome, Steve. You're the one person in the U.S. that speaks a few languages. Please.
I wouldn't go that far.
Yeah. So wait, can I ask? Wait, before, do you mind if I throw in another Tom Petty question? There's so many super fans. I had no idea how. I mean,
then they're all wonderful. We love you all still. We miss you.
Yes, they are. So this is from Pam, who is Tom Adams' friend, and she said, "What is it like living on the road with the Heartbreakers?"
Pretty boring.
Really?
You know, it's funny because we used to travel very well. Tom kept us very, very rested. We never overstretched so that we ever got fatigued, so that we couldn't play. And we would travel in a private jet. We had a G4 that we used to travel in, and we would stay in Ritz-Carltons and Four Seasons hotels, and nice hotels, sometimes with a golf course somewhere, and swimming pools, health clubs, and everything that we could possibly need as far as that. And I get up in the morning, go do my thing, and go see my friends, and we'd stay in a place like Chicago or New York, or Austin or something like that. And we always had friends. I had my friends everywhere, and I'd go and see my friends. And sometimes I go and have breakfast with Scott or Ron or something. Mike and Ben used to really just sort of stay in. And once in a while I go out with Ben and have something. Going to lunch or something.
So these guys are like your family at this point. Would you?
Yeah. I was like, you don't. But where those people would really gel was on stage. It was like our whole days individually, how we used to go about it would be to get together on stage and play that music. So it was always fresh. It was always fresh for us. We never got tired of playing those songs. It never got boring. And
why is that? Is it because, would you say Tom Petty is one of the greatest songwriters of all time? What is it?
If you had the how can I put it? If you had the ammo that he had, as far as songs, you know, we could go and do a show with the songs that he had that we didn't play and that everybody knew, you know. And
you do a whole greatest hits album and another greatest hits album. And,
yeah. I mean, he you know, and when he wasn't playing these hits, he was having fun playing music.
That's great.
He would play somebody else's song and or make up something. And
wow.
It was never boring. It was always fantastic. And the unit and the that he put together. The band that he put together is you know, and it really wasn't Tom Petty and the Heartbreakers. It was Tom Petty in the Heartbreakers. He was an integral part. It wasn't just that we were a backing band. He was in the band. He was a guitarist in the band.
Mm-hmm.
You know? Yeah. So although he was definitely the boss, definitely the front man, and definitely the driving force in the band, but he was part of that band as he was having fun. He was having as much fun in here with us as he was being. He wasn't just like, I'm walking out, I'm Tom Petty, and this is whoever that is back there. Sure. It doesn't really matter.
Right.
He was in the band, so it was he was an incredible leader. I mean, he knew exactly what he wanted as far as the band, and he got the loyalty and love of everybody around him, not just the band. It went all the way down through the crew, truck drivers, bus drivers. You know, people would drop anything to come and work with him.
It's rare that you hear that about a musician, that kind of respect. And
absolutely.
What was that about him? It was just an intrinsic part of who he was.
Just who he was. Just who he was. And when fans often say to me, you know, you were close to Tom for years. What was he like? And I usually say to them, he was everything that you thought he was.
Aww.
He was that kind of a person. He was everything that you thought he was.
Yeah.
He was a great writer. He was very smart. He had great intuition. He had he loved playing music. He loved playing music. He loved being in front of people. He loved his fans, and he loved his band and everybody around him.
Well, it sounds like he was a very smart man, and he chose like-minded people, because that's how you are.
Yeah, and he didn't.
That's why he hangs out with you.
He didn't just, he didn't just do stuff for money either. I mean, it was, he made money. He made lots of money, but it was, he could have charged like a fortune for a ticket, but he didn't want to. He listen, we do okay. We're doing just fine.
Yeah.
Yeah, I heard he kept his ticket prices low for the fans. Like, he was very thoughtful of the fans.
And he also, it was also very expensive, because we would only do 3 weeks out on the road, and then we'd have a week to 10 days off at home, paid.
Wow.
Everybody. So it was everybody. This whole thing you were talking about before, being out on the road wasn't so stressful. Mm-hmm. Because we knew we'd be out for 3 weeks, we'd have fun for 3 weeks and just play and do our stuff and not wear ourselves out. I don't want to go out on the road and just like at the end of 3 weeks be like, I got to go home. We'd be rested. Mm-hmm. We'd be rested, but we'd be actually get back home and be looking forward to going back out on the road again.
See, it's so smart. That's a bigger picture thinking, where a lot of people.
Absolutely.
I work in the movies. It's the same way. They'll burn their crew out. There's very few people like Clint Eastwood. Even Woody Allen, they do 10-hour days. They let people go home to their families, and they get a very loyal crew that way. So
they drop anything for them.
Okay, can I ask a Johnny Cash question?
Yeah.
How was that? I love Johnny Cash. In that Johnny album is fucking amazing.
Yeah, that was a lot of fun. He's such a gentleman. Johnny was such a gentleman. He gave me at the end of the recording. He gave me an album, one of his albums from what's that label? Was it what was the label?
It's on American.
No, it was the early stuff. The early.
Sun House? No, Sun.
On Sun Records.
Okay.
He gave me a Sun Records album, and he signed it. Thank you for playing on my record, Johnny Cash. He was such a gentleman, lovely man, and you got
to work with Rick Rubin too. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Finish your Johnny story.
Well, Rick had produced Wildflowers, so that then he sort of brought the Heartbreakers in to do the Johnny Cash thing. But what was interesting about that was one of the songs that we cut was Rusty Cage, which was
so it's Nick Cage, right?
No,
Nine Inch Nails.
Oh
no, it's a oh god.
Oh my god! I'm nervous. Hold on.
Got it. The mom got it.
There you go. Ding,
Joe.
you win. It was a Soundgarden song.
Yeah. His phone went off.
Is that Muddy Waters?
Yeah. No, it's a Johnny Hooker.
Oh yeah.
But yeah, I gotta call him back about it. I gotta do a session.
Okay.
I got hired. I just got hired on your show.
All right.
Hey, you're welcome. That'll be 15%, Steve. Good energy.
Who says you can't play rock and roll at 70 years old? Screw everybody. That's what
right?
I say. I'm
You're
gonna play rock and roll till I die.
Yeah.
It's amazing.
And you didn't die at 30. You're still here, and you're
I didn't die at 30. I might be
27.
I might get to be 90 and play on something.
It's so great.
You're a legend. There, I saw something too. Did you give your average white band drum kit to Questlove, and that's what he plays on?
No, I gave him a snare drum. I didn't give him the kit.
Okay, a snare.
Nice. He was a big fan of Average White Band, and I got inducted into the Rock Walk of Fame here in Los Angeles.
Oh,
congratulations!
The one at the Guitar Center.
Damn.
And Questlove came out because he's always been very, very, very flattering. He was very gracious in giving me credit for being one of his inspirations of playing, one of the main inspirations of playing.
Wow.
And so, I thought, well, he's such a big Average White Band. He's always going on about Average White Band, and I still have the kit, the original kit. And I thought, well, yeah, I'll take one of the snare drums and give him one of the snare drums.
Nice.
That's so cool.
I love it.
But that kit is actually being refurbished as we speak. And they're working on it. They're cleaning it all up and making it nice.
Wow.
I got a set of 1950 Gretsch broadcasters that I sit outside in my studio, and it might give them a little run for their money for a little while. I might have to give them a little rest and put the Average White Band kit up, see what it does.
Oh, that'd be nice.
Cool.
Yeah. Can you finish what you were going to say? Do you need to go right now, or can you finish the Rick Rubin, Johnny Cash?
Oh yeah, no, yeah. I mean, Rick just Rick had an amazing. He has an amazing instinct for songs for people. I thought it was kind of weird. You make Johnny Cash do a Soundgarden song,
Yeah.
And then it just kind of worked, even though Johnny had terrible time starting this. He had a terrible time figuring out. She wired me awake, and he would always start in the wrong place. He kept starting, and we had to see it. But once we got going,
yeah,
then it was good.
She wired me awake.
Yeah. She wired me awake. Yeah, that's great.
And then he did that. He did the was it Folsom Prison? So, yeah, he did that, and it was the first time I caught that line about shot a man just to watch him die. And so I got Johnny like right here in my cans and sit there playing, and so we finished, and I just walked up to Joe and said, "Johnny, you're a gangster."
Yeah, the Man in Black. He was. He was a straight up gangster.
Did he like that? Was he offended, or he liked that?
No, he liked it. He was a great guy. He was just a great guy. He was a great guy. Yeah.
Is there anyone that you were super starstruck by? Out of all the people, you can continue with Johnny Cash. Sorry, I cut you off.
No, I don't think so. No, I mean, I've never. I don't know. I've worked with so many people.
Yeah.
I mean, I can remember. I can remember once I was in New York and I did a session, And on that session was a bass player named Anthony Jackson, who's an incredible bass player. Richard T, George Benson. I think oh God, oh never. Phil Upchurch was playing on it, and we did this. It was a Shaka Khan session one day, and we did that. And Arif Martin was producing in Atlantic Records, and I called up Ollie McIntosh from Average White Band. I said, "I'll be finishing now. So why don't you come over and we go and grab some we drink a pint of Guinness over at this Eamon Duran's bar. We used to go to this Irish bar, Eamon Duran's." And Ollie came over to the session, and we finished up working, and we went outside, got in my car, and drove across town to Eamon's. And as we were driving across town, Ollie looked at me. He said, "Do you realise what you just did?" And I said, "What?" He said, "Do you realise who you were playing with in there?" And he ran off the names of all the musicians and everything. And I actually realised that if somebody had told me like a few years before that I was going to do this, play with these guys, the guys of that caliber musician, I would have been all up in the air, But it had become kind of like the normal, that you go in, you just do your job, and they're working like you are, and you just get the job done, and then you leave. I mean, basically, we're all musicians in that case. So, I mean, from David Bowie, Michael Jackson, Mick Jagger, played on his solo album, Shaka Khan, George Benson, Tom Petty, Eric Clapton, George Harrison, Whitney Houston. I mean, and all the others, Steve Winwood,
so many.
all these people. Some became Prince, and others were just fellow musicians that were trying to get a song done the way that they wanted it. And it was just my job to be able to, my privilege really, to be able to go in and help them with that.
And they were lucky to have you.
And I was lucky that, I mean, it's funny because I sit around talking to people. People start talking around me. They start talking music quite a bit, and we'll be out somewhere dinner with some people that I know a little bit, not so well or something. And talk come out about music, and then leave one person another, and then someone say, "Oh, I love that record." And I say, I played on that." What? Yeah, I played on that. And we'll talk. So I played on that.
This happened. We would be eating Cuevos Rancheros after your gig at Jones Coffee.
Yeah.
We'd be eating eggs, and you'd have these stories. I was like, we gotta interview this guy. He's freaking incredible. You played with everybody. It's amazing.
Prince, you played with Prince. What was that like?
Yeah, well,
weirdo.
Let me just finish on that topic. I went out. I dated a girl once who lived in Phoenix, and she had a daughter, Holly. And Holly was a music major in school, and she's a music teacher now. But she always kind of looked at me like the old guy, dating my mom, And one day she came back from school, and she said, "I heard the most beautiful song today." Really? She said, "Yeah." She said, "I don't know what's up."
I'm sorry.
Hi. Yeah. She said it was a song by Duran Duran. I don't know the name of it. She said, but it was such a beautiful song. I said, was it Ordinary World? She said, "Oh yes, it was Ordinary World." I said, "I played on that." What? Yeah, I played on
Respect.
That. Look at
Respect.
That. She kind of looked at me a little differently after that.
Yeah.
But sometimes, sometimes it feels kind of embarrassing because, like you said, you sit there with people and have these conversations. Like, I played on that too.
Also that.
I played on that
By
too.
the way.
And then they go. But the thing is, it's not just sort of one. It's not like in one area. It's like all these different areas, like from jazz to rock and roll to R&B.
Yeah.
sometimes the stuff. I'm sorry, but that was me too.
And they're starting to not believe you. Yeah. You're like Santa.
A lot of people can't do that where they cross genres like that. They can only stay in the jazz world and the rock world. So.
And the Prince story was I've said it a few times, but it's pretty consistent. So it's because it's the truth. And it was a little bit awkward when Prince showed up at the induction of George Harrison at the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, because he wasn't expected. It was we rehearsed. I kind of knew Steve Winwood was going to come in over there and just come in and play, but we rehearsed over here with Jeff Lynne and Tom, and Scotty Thurston was going to play bass on it, and then we all went off to New York, and we arrived on the stage, and we're sitting there just sort of running down, and what had happened was that the Grammy people wanted Prince to come and play with us on that song, and they went and asked Olivia Harrison, and Olivia had sort of got it down that she wanted people playing that knew George, that knew and loved George. So the band was made up of people that knew George Harrison, loved George Harrison, and Prince was kind of this guy that was outside of that, and so there was a little bit of resistance, but they persuaded Olivia to do it. She talked to Tom about it, and Tom said, "No, okay, why not?" And so, of course, I never got told anything because I'm just the new guy. And I'm sitting there on the stage, and I got Steve Winwood here, and Jeff Young is sitting playing piano. Winwood's here with his Hammond organ, and we're sitting there, and Winwood says to me, he says, "Look, there's Prince." Look over the other side. What's he doing here? And he said, I guess he's going to play with us, and he's over there getting his amp together, plugging in his guitar and doing his stuff. And it was kind of like this awkward sort of feeling, that there was us over, and the Prince was over there.
Yeah.
And I said to women, I'm going to go over and say hello to him. He says, "You're not?" I said, "Yeah, I'm going to go over to say hello to him. So see what's up with that." So I get up and I walk across the stage, and I say, "Excuse me, Prince. Hi, how you doing? Steve Ferrone, very nice to meet you." And he looked at me, he says, "Oh," he says, "I know who you are." I said, nice. "Yes, I played on I Feel For You, Shaka Khan." So that's Prince, that's Prince's song, right?
Your kid,
that's right. So I said, "Oh yeah, I Feel For You." I said, yeah. That was a great song. I had fun doing that. Big hit. Yeah. Nice song. I said, I'm really looking forward to playing with you. And he said, "Yeah." I said, "I'm really looking forward myself." I turned around, go back over to the drum kit, and I sit there, and Wim was like, what did he say? What did he say? I said, "Very nice. You should go over and say hello to him. He's a really nice person, And all of a sudden, I hear somebody playing an average white band song, that one of them I was involved in writing, and it's Schoolboy Crush. I hear this guitar riff. And I thought it was like one of the Letterman band or something, because the Letterman band was the house band. I thought it might be one of those guys playing or something. And I look across the stage, and Prince is looking right at me, playing Schoolboy Crush. He knew exactly who I was.
That's
Dang.
cool.
Yeah.
That's cool.
That's amazing.
Exactly who I was. Anyway, so we did the rehearsal, and at the end of the rehearsal, Tom walked up to Prince and said, "Listen, why don't you take that last solo, and just like, do your thing, do whatever you want to do. I'll cue Steve for the ending."
And this was
and Prince
My
said,
Guitar
"Okay."
Gently Weeps.
Yeah.
That was the song. Yeah.
And we went and did the performance, and Prince put on a whole show just for us. I mean, he started. I mean, that guitar solo is one of the most amazing guitar solos ever. I mean, it's got to be.
I heard it.
10.
I watched that clip. Oh,
it's just, he just tore all kinds of stuff with that guitar solo. He just went crazy. Yeah. But he at one point he walks across to the middle of the stage, and he turns his back on the audience, and he's looking at us, and he's playing, and then he just fell off the stage, and then
disappears.
and we all went, Prince just fell off the stage, and he had an enormous guy in the audience who caught him, who pushed him back up on.
Thank God.
Back up onto the stage. It was all for us. It wasn't. For
That's hilarious.
He put on this amazing show for us, and then he walks across the other side of the stage towards the end. While still playing this amazing solo, finishes the song. Tom cuts the song off, takes off his guitar, throws it up in the air, and walks off, and the guitar doesn't come down.
What?
Where'd it
And
go?
we were all sitting there going, yeah.
Was it on a string? Did it go up in the ceiling? Where did it go?
he had a roadie up in the. He had a roadie sitting up there in the.
So this was this planned?
No.
This was planned without you guys?
He planned it. He must have planned it because he had the guy in the audience and the guy up in the thing. But it wasn't a show for them out there. It was a show for us.
It's freaking great.
And
The poor band is going, what is going on?
He just like takes his guitar off and throws it up there and turns around and walks.
This is great.
And everybody was like, what the hell? And also blown away by the guitar solo as well.
So nobody he wasn't trying to steal the show. He was a part of you guys. That's awesome.
But it wasn't, you know, that whole thing wasn't for them. The whole thing wasn't for them.
It's for you guys.
It was for us.
That's hilarious.
I love it.
You know, it was a show for us. It was fantastic.
That was one of his last performances too, right? Before he passed away.
Yeah, I think so. I believe so. Yeah.
Yeah.
It was amazing.
Now,
you know, that thing has got something like 40 million views or something.
Crazy.
It's just a silly number of views that it's got.
I saw that.
Good. Wow.
Well, it's all the all-stars. It's all you guys. I mean, everybody wants to see all of it, but but that was wild. I saw that.
Yeah.
Do you want to do some quick rapid fire questions at all, or what is your time like, Steve? Yeah.
I got a little bit of time. I've got a friend of mine's coming over in a minute.
Steve,
good.
We love you.
My friend Robert DeLeo from Stone Temple Pilots is coming up.
No, I'm coming too, Steve. Give me your address.
Yeah. I know you guys are real close by, right? Are you in the same?
Where are you?
No, he's actually going to go to work up in Simi Valley, so he's going to come back by here.
Where are you? Don't have to tell us, but are you in Burbank?
No, I'm Van Nuys.
Van Nuys. Okay.
Well, they call it Lake Balboa.
Like, I love it. That's
It used to be Van Nuys, and they called it Lake
fancy.
Balboa. It added $100,000 to my house value, so that's okay.
That's fine. You're in a good area. I'll just say that much. It's very nice.
Shoot. Let me have these questions. Come on, shoot.
Okay. Yes. All right. Let's see.
And we need to talk about your turtle. Remind me.
Oh, I know. It's so cute in the background. That's the water noise we hear.
I love it. I used to work in the amphibian section of does he have a place to land? Because they live a lot longer.
Up on the top.
He can get up there.
One is up there now sunbathing.
Someone's up there?
Yeah.
Julianne was distracted this whole time, worried about your turtle being able to.
I was making sure that he had a place, because a lot of people will just throw him in a tank and they don't realize they need heat, and they also need a rock.
See that where the light is? They get up there and they sunbathe up there.
Steve, I love you so much. The animal part of me.
I know. She loves her animals.
Okay. What's his name? What are both of them?
Annie and Charlie.
Oh.
Well, I don't know if they're boys or girls. Maybe they're both boys. I don't know. But they do that turtle love dance every once in a while. So.
Ooh, but you're open-minded now. It's okay.
It doesn't really matter now, does it?
No, it doesn't. Good for you. You've turned a corner, Steve. You're woke. We're all woke.
Yeah.
I've got some fans here that just wanted to say a few things. So Bill Deutsch wants you to know what a great drummer you are.
Thank you.
Just straight away. Is there any talk about scheduling a tribute concert for Tom? Rick Musino wants to know.
No, well, there was talk about actually doing what Tom wanted to do, which was the Wildflowers and all the rest tour at one point. It sort of went out the window when there was such a big disturbance that happened when Tom passed away. There was disputes going on between family stuff and everything, and so it's all been sort of shelved. I don't know if it'll ever happen. it would be nice for me. It would be nice if it did. I'd really enjoy that. Go play those songs one more time, because I know the fans are missing it, and I know nobody plays that stuff like we do.
Yeah.
And Tom used to talk about the tribute bands. You know, somebody asked him once. He said to him, he said, what do you think? What do you think about the tribute bands? He says, well, you know, so it's okay, just as long as they're not better than us.
Yeah, because there's got to be a lot of those, right?
Yeah.
No, what would hold you back from doing that? Is it just a matter of coordination, or everyone just has to be on the same page?
Yeah, and I think, you know, it's still, everybody still feels. Still feeling. Nobody's over that. I don't think anybody's over it yet. I don't know. Mike isn't over it. I don't know.
Yeah.
It's difficult. It's really difficult sometimes to go and play any of those songs and without thinking about it. And, you know, everybody handles grief differently. And so this is so you know, you never know. Pray a lot. Pray about it, and we'll see what happens.
Yeah.
Okay, all the fans out there, there's a lot of prayer needs to happen.
Yeah.
I know. Let's see. Average White Band, we have a question. Someone's from Scotland. This is Mike Edwards. He wants to know, who were Scottish? Oh no, ask about your time with Average White Band. You kind of talked about it. And do you get to see Brighton play soccer much these days?
Yes, I do. I got them on TV. I saw them play last week. I think it was Wolves. They beat 1-0.
Nice.
Good. And one thing about Average White Band is that Pick Up the Pieces is going to be on the inaugural playlist. So
you're kidding?
Yeah.
Tomorrow.
I just found that out this morning. Yes.
Okay. Wow. On the charts with Joe Biden. I love it.
Yeah.
Now, okay, segue.
Great.
I have a good segue.
Wait. Can I ask 2 more questions?
Yeah. But real quick.
Okay.
Joe Biden, in his first acceptance speech, when he got elected, used a Coldplay song. Yeah. I'm a big Coldplay fan. Do you know the guys in Coldplay? Do you know the drummer Will Champion?
No.
Oh.
No.
That was
Jill tries to work Coldplay in every interview we do, and someday she's going to find someone who knows these guys.
Well,
you got a thing for the drummer?
Yeah,
no,
for the singer.
not necessarily. They're nice guys, but they're from England, and
I should have something for the drummer.
Yeah, well, he's a very good guy. Well, there was a big stand-up routine about being the drummer in Coldplay. The fact is, he's insanely popular. Their music is all over the world, but he's the drummer, so he's kind of got the superhero power, where he can go anywhere and do anything he wants. He's not necessarily recognized. Yeah.
Like and the bass player of U2.
Right.
Yes.
Great. So he
actually in the world. Doesn't have to do all the interviews, doesn't have to do any of that stuff.
Yeah.
Just has to be the bass player in U2 and collect the money.
Right.
Yeah.
He snuck himself into an episode of the Game of Thrones, and he was the drummer during the red wedding scene for the wedding. And people didn't know who he was. They thought he was an extra. So then I wondered if you've ever been in TV shows, have you been able to be kind of stealth and enjoy the luxury of being a famous drummer?
Not the front
person.
Well,
I was in As the World Turns once.
Oh, Steve.
Yeah.
Can you cry on cue?
I was in a wedding band with Paul Schaefer and Will Lee from the David Letterman show.
I love it.
It's awesome.
And we played something like Tainted Love. Sexual healing.
Ooh.
We played it. The song list was just ridiculous what we played at this wedding.
That's great.
I love it. There you go.
They didn't catch it. They it's live. Soaps aren't. That was all live. They couldn't take it out.
It was I don't know. I forget whether it might have been recorded, but they did the scene, and then we were just playing we played in the background in the
That's
scene.
Great.
We were actually playing. It was like live music.
That's awesome.
That's so funny.
Yeah.
Paul Schaefer, my God.
I know.
Steve,
Another
who have you not played with?
Friendly bald.
What was your favorite Heartbreakers song to play, or Tom?
There wasn't one. There's too many.
You love them all.
Can't pick
This
one.
was a question from Pam again, and we'll leave it at that.
Yeah.
I don't want to ask too many of those.
This is kind of a touchy question. Lisa Traxler wanted to know if you've ever talked with Stan Lynch, and are you guys on?
I never have spoken. I only met Stan once, and that was at when the Heartbreakers got inducted into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, and nothing more than just say hi, how you doing? That was about it.
Yeah, because he was
and
the former drummer.
Yeah.
Sorry, Joe.
That's all right.
Phil Rude says he's a huge Heartbreakers fan. He loved seeing you play with Larkin Poe when you played Honeybee. Yeah. You remember this?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. I love Larkin Poe. I got to play with them when Tom won the songwriter award for the Music Cares at the Grammys, and they asked me to play in the house band. Management asked me to play in the house band if I would do that, just to sort of.
That's awesome.
It didn't want. He didn't want things to. He didn't want Tom sitting there and people playing Tom Petty songs and Tom getting all pissed off because they were screwing him up. So he said, just go in and just make sure that they don't screw him up so much. You know?
So cute.
But Larkin, I mean, there were great musicians, and Larkin Poe were amongst those musicians, and we become really good friends. And Rebecca's husband Tyler Bryant, we've become really good friends, and I love their music, and finally they asked me to play with them, and it was like yes.
Yeah, you played some of them on your show too. It was good.
Yeah, I played them a lot. I played them a lot. They're really, really good players. Really good players.
I was okay. So my question, Abbey Road, you got to record at freaking Abbey Road. Was that as big as it sounds to me?
Yeah, I played in Studio A. I had the whole thing to myself.
That's crazy. Now that must have been a moment, because I would.
Oh yeah. I mean, if I could pack up a studio and take it with me everywhere, that would be the one. That one in Power Station in New York. Can't let out Power Station. And it was just amazing. Yeah.
It's because of the equipment they use, or because of the history.
The sound of the room. It's just, I mean, it was just an amazing room to play. I don't, you know, some of these studios, like, you know, Capitol Radio, Capitol Studios over there. You go over there, you set up a drum kit, and there it is. It's just got this. You know, they got these old Neve boards and great, you know.
I went into the Capitol Records one, and they had we got to for a movie we were shooting in the old Frank Sinatra mic. Did you see him? I don't know if that was a. I don't know all the ins and outs.
I mean, they have all these mics, and they're all these old mics and stuff, and it just sounds like a palace when you go and make a record in those places.
There's a freaking sound chamber there.
Yeah,
I didn't realize Danny Elfman recorded like down in the cellar.
It's underneath the parking lot.
Wow, that's cool.
Their reverb, and if you go to Hitsville, which is where they recorded all the Motown stuff, which is in a house. It's a very small studio.
Where's that?
In Detroit.
Oh,
it's actually a museum. If you ever go to Detroit, you can go there. And their echo chamber's up in the attic, so you can actually, if the guy thinks that you're a real dedicated person, he'll show you to pull out a step ladder and you'll open it up, and you can actually go up there, stick your head up there, and you're actually in the echo chamber that was all over those Motown records that made everything sound.
That's right, the echo chamber. We gotta hang out.
I'm gonna shoot right down.
He's here. Robert DeLeo's here. I gotta go.
Hey, he's gotta go. He's got a date with those guys.
Well,
are you here?
He's gonna talk to him.
Okay, I'll be right out. Nice.
Steve Ferrone, you are amazing. Your fans love you. One last thing. Do you know how much that you mean to the fans? Matt Slivko wants you to know that.
Yes, I do. And I don't take any of it for granted.
Aw, thank you so much for your time. And where can people find you and look for your stuff?
Oh, well, I mean, you can find me on Tom Petty Radio, the New Guy Show. And there's the New Guy Show Facebook page. There's steveferrone.com. And yeah, that's about it. I'm not that difficult to find. Rake around in the internet, you can find me.
Yay! Come visit next time you're in the hood by Matt's house.
I will do.
I'm right down the street from Matt.
I will do. I make sure I get my shot first, though. You know, don't infect you.
Me too.
Thank you so much for your time.
Hugs.
We love you. Amazing.
Bye.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye, Steve. Abbey Road, that's such an iconic place to record. It's just, that would do it for me. Like walking into that building, being like, oh my God, the freaking Beatles recorded here, and so many other people. And yeah,
I know. It's amazing. Well, we did it, and I'm so glad and thankful for Steve to be on. And glad that we have an exciting new audience, maybe with some Tom Petty fans and other Steve Ferrone fans.
That's right.
Who might find
What
this.
was the name of the group, the Tom Petty group that we asked a lot of their questions?
Oh, they're Tom Petty Nation. They're on Facebook. So yeah. And then Steve Ferrone has a fan page, and there's many followers of him just for being a great drummer, and the whole drum community looks to him for a lot of answers. And he demos lots of products, and he's always doing stuff with that. So,
and listen to his podcast. It's great.
Yeah, it's really good. It's more like a radio show. He's kind of like a DJ. He kind of throws songs up there and talks a little bit in between, but not a lot. And it's on Sirius XM, which I think you can get the app just as well if you have a subscription or not. So Tom Petty Radio. But yay. Well, and we are available, everybody, on mouseandweens.com. As you know, we're going to transcribe this. We'll put all the notes there. That is also where you can link to any other pod player. If you're seeing this on YouTube, you can listen to the audio in your ears while you run around or whatever on any pod player. Where else are we? We're on patreon.com/mouseandweens, and that's for our VIP members. It is a small cost, $5 a month, but with that, you get unedited everything. We put out bloopers and little behind the scenes videos and songs and things like that.
We'll shout you out.
We'll shout you out. That's right. We give you a swag bag, all sorts of good things. And right now, we would like to say thank you to Alexander, Jody, to Carla, to Megan, and to Joyce for being our patrons. And
thank
you guys are our family. This is a special place in our heart where we know that you're finding value in us. We find value in you. So thank you. And
love you.
Anything else, Weens?
I just am so grateful that Steve came and showed up and did this. He, had a Rolling Stone interview, and then he did Mouse and Weens. So we're so grateful. It's just, he's a lovely human. He really doesn't have an ego, and that's what's lovely about him.
Yeah, absolutely.
Good guy, good friend.
We didn't get to talk a lot about it, but I hear him talk about his grandkids a lot too. So he's a family guy, down to earth, and it comes through, it shows through, and his talent and his heart are amazing. So yay. Well, thank you. We're glad that we're part of the catalog of Steve Ferrone now.
Yeah. Thanks, guys.
All right. Thank you, everybody. See you soon.
Bye.
Bye-bye.